Hi there, my name is Bernardo Espanol. I created and write for Nardio.net. Today I'm going to walk you through editing this photo from this to this. Now, to follow along, you're going to need to check out the description below this video, where you're going to find a Dropbox link to the raw file of this folder. With that, in Lightroom and in Photoshop, you can follow along step by step. So first, I want you to check out this amazing cosplayer. She goes by Milk Tea Cosplay, and she is sensational. You should totally all check her out on social media. This is one of the shots, another shot that I've done of her at Anime Next, and I loved this cosplay of hers. Now, this is her Instagram where you could find her. She is amazing, she's super nice, and her cosplay work is sensational. So be sure to give her a follow. All right, so now let's take care of this photo. So what you're seeing right now is the final version, you would say, of everything that I accomplished in Lightroom while editing this. So as you can see, this is the raw file. And yeah, I love this shot. It was shot on an 80mm 1.7 lens that I got off of eBay for about 40 bucks. Now, sure, it's not a tack sharp lens. It's not even an automatic lens. It's actually an APS-C manual lens that I adapted onto my full frame Sony a7 III camera. Now, if you want to know more about that lens, you can check out the review that I've done for it at the end of the video in the whatever those windows YouTube lets me link to other stuff is. But it's a sensational lens. I love it a lot, and it's super interesting. I mean, check out the crazy bokeh in the background, but Milk Tea still looks super great. And this distinctive look that I get from the lens is totally worth the hassle of trying to use a manual lens at a convention. And let me tell you, that is not easy. Anywho, so you can see from start to finish, a lot of changes are made. And today we're going to do those changes together. So now comes the part of the video that always makes me nervous, because I'm going to undo all this progress. So now, if you're curious how I was able to see before and after, hit Y when you're in Lightroom, and then you can see the original and what you're up to now. But we don't need any of that. What we're going to do is mosey on down to the lower right and hit the reset. And just like that, all that sweet progress is gone. But let's work on this together. All right, so first we're going to adjust a few things to make the image pop a little bit more. Now, what you're probably going to want to see is this in near final form. I'm going to be changing the aspect ratio of this throughout the video, but this is just so you could better see the changes that are happening. So once again, they're both starting at the same point, but this is going to be the original, and this is what we're working on. On and off, I'm just going to focus on one thing, but for now, this will do. Now we're going to up the contrast by 36. Highlights -10, shadows +25. Oops. There we go. Okay. Now, you might already notice it, but it's already getting kind of clearer, which is awesome. Now, blacks -21, clarity +20. Now, everything that I'm doing is not set in stone. As you follow along, feel free to pause this and then just play around with it. See what feels right for you. Because the way I edit this shot may very well not be how you want to edit this shot, and that's okay. But I would love it if you when you're done with your photo, you can just post it on social media and tag Nardio Edits. If it'd be even cooler, you could just tag Nardio, my Instagram, and to be super duper cool, you could tag Milk Tea Cosplay's account as well. I'm sure she would appreciate it. All right, let's get back to this photo. So vibrance +40, saturation +10. Okay, now this is going to be something that's going to come down to every person every different person who edits it, how you want the image to look. Now, personally, I love it when photos come out with pretty much warm colors. Not too warm where it's just unbelievable, but warm enough where you just kind of see the life in the person's face. But here's the thing. The character that the cosplayer is doing is very, very, very fair-skinned. The character lives in the mountains and the snow, so not really well-tanned. So after I get through this, I'm going to show you how I'm going to add some more color to the image, but then bring it back a little bit. All right, so let's keep going. Okay, this is the HSL color tab. Now here we're going to adjust the greens in the photo. So you could play with this however much you want, but I just want the greens in the background to just look a little different. Now you can give it a fun fall look. If you adjust the hue all the way to -100, you can make it this interesting, I don't know, neon look here. But we're going to go light with it. So hue green +4. Saturation green +9. Luminance green -36. All right, now you can already see the big drastic difference before and after in this photo, which is pretty fun. I gotta say, this is one of my favorite parts about editing photos in general, is because you just get to see everything that you're doing like come to life as you do it. Saturation, we're gonna up that to 52. And then finally, because I shot this on my Sony a7 III, I've noticed with a lot of Sony glass, at least for the a7 III and the a6500, it's better to adjust, for me, to always adjust the calibration blue primary saturation to be in the 20s. So we're going to put this to be about 25. All right. Okay, so this is what we have so far for her face. Before, after. Now here's the thing. Personally, I love this shot with this much color in her face, but it's not really true to the character. So I'm going to make a change to what I did before and use our good friend the adjustment brush to paint over her face. Now, right now it's set to show you what's happening. Now, if you want to see what you're painting, or you don't want to see what you're painting, you press O on the keyboard to show things. Press O again to hide things. Now, whenever I'm using the adjustment brush, for the most part, I like to just go between these two things. So I'm going to leave it on for now to just let you see what I'm doing. And yes, this is going to seem a bit much, but trust me, it's going to look fine in the final edit because this is being put on Instagram and Facebook. And especially for Instagram, you don't really need to zoom in depending on the shot. And for what I'm doing now, you don't need to be super duper exact. You just need to get it as right as you can. And this adjustment brush, we're going to be using it a lot. So, and it's a super powerful tool. Personally, I think this is my favorite in Lightroom. All right, a little sloppy around the eye there, but I'll fix that. Okay, so as you can see, I went a little overboard here on the eye, but we're going to fix that. So first, we're going to zoom in a bit more. Let's go to 1. Now, with the adjustment brush still set to what it was, you hit Alt, and you'll see a minus symbol here. And you just paint over the mistake, you missed the mistake. And there you go. Now, I hit the space bar, click the left mouse button, and we're back outside to the full shot. Now, what we're going to do here is drop the saturation in the face and hands by 11. Do this here. Okay. So now Milk Tea has some more color in her face, but not too much where she'll look orange or distracting. So let's get rid of that real quick. Let's go here, Click her forehead. Delete. See how much brighter her skin looks? And this is after the edit. So again, this now looks like a character, a person that doesn't get the sun a lot. Very fair-skinned. Now, speaking of sun, let's play with the image a little bit. Now we're going to adjust the aspect ratio here a bit, original. Now we're going to use our good friend, the graduated filter, and we're going to paint the background a bit. Now, what am I doing here? Now, if you notice, she is pretty much in between the shadows and the bright sunlight. This was staged, I would say, under the shade of a tree, obviously, and near a building next to Anime Next Convention Center. And I didn't want her to be blown out in the bright sun, so I just put her a bit into the shadow of the trees to try to give her this look like she's coming out of the woods and she's just veering out to see what's there. Her arm is kissed by the sunlight, so is a bit of her face, but we're going to try to brighten up the top right of the image so you just notice that effect a bit more. So we're going to go here, exposure, 35. All right. Highlights, 100. Now you're noticing from this side down, it's brightening up and it matches the light here. Just gotta keep playing with it until it looks and feels right. I think that looks good. Yeah, I like that. So let's before and after that real quick, and you can totally see the difference of everything that we've accomplished so far together. Now we're going to work on Milk Tea's face. So to make things a little easier, we're going to change the aspect ratio again, back to 4:5. Here we go. Now, once again, we're going to use our palette adjustment brush to paint over her face. Now, this, again, isn't realistic in the normal sense of a portrait thing, but this is based on an anime character. And anime characters, for the most part, have absolutely flawless skin. And it's weird, but we're going to follow along. So let's first go over here, close it to 1.2. There we go. Adjustment brush, and we're going to just start painting her face. Now, this is going to look weird, honestly, as we start it. Okay. Or when I'm done, but it's going to look much better in the final image when we're zoomed out. So be a little patient, and trust me, this is going to look sensational when we're done. And this is nothing against Milk Tea Cosplay. She's absolutely sensational. But we're just going to smooth this up a bit, just so she has that anime sheen. Okay, now that we have her face painted over with the adjustment brush, we're going to drop the texture by 100. Boom. Super smooth marble skin. Obviously a tad unrealistic, but hey, this is an anime character. Actually, we're going to zoom in just a skosh more. All right. Now we're going to do a little bit on her lips. Once again, with our power of the adjustment brush. Just paint over lightly. So what we're going to do here is add some clarity to her lips. Just make them pop just a bit more. Now again, it looks weird. It looks really weird close up, but once you zoom out, it's a lot better. Now we're going to start working on Milk Tea's eyes. Once again, our palette the adjustment brush comes in to save the day. Make this thing as large as you can and just paint over the outside of her eyes. Hit O so you can see what I did. So here we're just going to work on with clarity, saturation a bit, and just make them pop a bit more. Especially since this is going to be on Instagram, you want the eyes to pop. Since this is based on an anime character, you want the eyes to really pop. So once again, this doesn't have to look as realistic as you would a portrait shot of this cosplayer, but you're thinking you're doing, but instead think of it as a portrait shot of an anime fictitious character. You're going to bring that to life. And what do anime characters have? Their most expressive feature? Their eyes. Okay, now we're going to make it where you can hide the painted part. Good. Now, what we're going to do is go texture +4, clarity +11, and sharpness +7. Now, we're going to get our brush here, hit Alt to undo the mistake we made. Here, I mean, it's kind of okay for around the eyes to pop a bit more, so you don't have to paint it in too much. But here, this is what we did, and this is the change. Now let's look before and the after. Big difference, right? All right. Now, we still have a good bit of work to do in the eyes, and our good friend, the adjustment brush, is going to be here to help us. So once again, we do a new hit adjustment brush again. Right here, we're going to start working on the white of her eyes. There we go. We're going to slowly paint in. Hit O so you can see what I'm doing. And if you notice, there's a bunch of other color in the eyes. And this is not anime realistic. So we're going to get rid of that unnecessary color. And just so you can just focus on Milk Tea's gorgeous eyes. So there we go. Now we're going to go saturation, negative saturation. 49. Awesome. And now you can see before and after. Let's hit done here so you can see. Now this distracting part is hidden a bit more. And if you notice now, her eyes pop a lot more, especially compared to the original shot. Now, here's the thing. Milk Tea has these amazing green eyes, but the character has blue eyes. So we're going to change this. Adjustment brush. All right, it doesn't have to be perfect, but there we go. Now, how do we change the color? Well, the first start is going to be going negative temperature 35. And as you see, it's getting a lot bluer. And again, because this is an anime character, we're going to go a bit extreme, but try to make sure she doesn't look like a White Walker or anything. So, highlights negative 18. Texture +9. Clarity +35 and saturation a lot more. 35 clarity, saturation +37. Now, again, I know this looks extreme, but when we zoom out, it's going to look a lot better, and when it's on Instagram, it's going to look amazing. And even when this is on Instagram, the eyes still won't pop as much as you think they will, because it's really hard to make that work just right and still make it look semi-believable. I myself am a fan of more natural looking things on social media, so the overly colorized or overly sharp things, as much as you're seeing me do it here, I actually try, this is toned down to how a lot of the community edits their shots. Sharpness 3. All right. Zoom out. Before after. Now, we have to help the eyes pop a little bit more. So we're going to use, once again, the adjustment brush. This is going to be like your favorite tool by the time you're done here. Now, we're going to make the blacks of her eyes look even blacker. By -0.72. Done. And yeah, it helps the blue pop even more, I think. Now we're going to use our friendly adjustment brush even more and, soothe this dark spot under the eye. So once again, first we're going to adjust the feather of this to 28. Okay, so what's the feather, you may be asking? Look at the circle that I'm moving around here. It has two circles in it. The inner circle is going to have 100% coverage of what we're doing. The outer circle, it's going to, what the changes we make are going to feather off and be much lighter. So what we're going to do is paint all around here. Exposure 0.12. Shadows +25. Now you can already see the difference here before and after. Go back and forth until you feel like you have it right. All right, now let's do a before and after with this here. Hit Y there. Click this. Delete. Done. So that's with the dark spot. It's with the dark spot lightened, and you can tell there's a considerable difference. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Amelia's outfit. We're going to use the adjustment brush to help the details in the embroidery around Amelia's outfit and her staff pop out a lot more. So, adjustment brush, and I'm going to start painting her head scarf, the details of her outfit, her chest area, and her bow here. So I'm going to fast forward this part and I'll explain what I'm doing after, okay? Okay, so we sloppily painted over most of the important details here, and don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to go back here and do this part. The whole point of what we're doing now is to just help things pop a bit more, because she did a lot of work here, and we want to highlight that. So hit O so you could hide the orange reddish. I'm going to raise the shadows by 2. We're going to texture 11, clarity 13. Dehaze +2, saturation +28. Now again, this isn't set in stone. You can do this however you like. But let's do a before and after of the changes we made. Done so you can see them. Now, you notice you can see the colors on her chest a lot better. Her staff, the detail sticks out a lot more. All the details of this beautiful embroidery just pops a bit more. And the photo just comes across as much, much, much sharper than it was. So, once again, hit Y here. Go to our adjustment brush. Delete what we did. Hit done. So this is without what we did. This is without highlighting the details. This is with the details highlighted. This As you can see, the outfit looks a lot better now. So let's go here. I'm going to double check, because sometimes when you check things with the adjustment brush, you kind of move them by mistake. And yeah, everything looks fine. So with this, we did everything that we could do for the photo in Lightroom. Sure, you can play around with it a lot more, maybe even get a lot of stuff done that you could do in Photoshop and Lightroom done, but at this next part, we're going to clean up the image. And by that, I mean these stray hairs here, stray hairs here, the stray hairs in the outfit, a little bit on the face, and just make sure it looks as perfect as it can. But before I do that, I'm going to switch it back to the original aspect ratio. And now the reason I do this is when I make the changes in Photoshop, I still want to be able to come back and maybe expand the image a little bit more, maybe shrink the image, or I want to have a larger template to play with when I do things with this photo. An Instagram story, for example, I want this to be as tall as possible, and then I would put the aspect ratio to 16.9, like that. And then I could have Instagram story and have a lot more of the sky in there. Or what I'm really going to do is have this set to 4x5 for I would say here. That's what's going to get posted to social media. That's what I'll probably post to Nardio, but I just want the wiggle room. So that's why, again, when I export this, I'm going to have it full size. Well, not export this, but when I play around with it in Photoshop, it's going to be full size. Now we're going to go to Photoshop. Right-click the image, edit in, Adobe Photoshop, and then we wait for everything to load. Okay, so now that we're in Photoshop, we're going to be using two tools for the most part. Go over here. One's going to be the spot healing brush tool. The next is going to be the patch tool. The spot healing brush tool, you can sort of paint over stray hairs, and what you painted over will mix in with the background around it, and it will pretty much hide a lot of things. But when that doesn't work, you use the patch tool. And the patch tool copies from one area and samples to another, and that way you can clear off stuff. I'll show you real quick. So first we'll zoom into the image. All right, so this is a perfect place to show you what does what. Start off with the spot healing brush tool. Set this to about 7 for me. Now I'm doing this with a mouse. You can do this with a pen tool and a tablet, but I'm just more comfortable using a mouse. I know I should use a tablet, but that's just me. Boom. Everything that I painted over, that strand of hair is gone now. Now, patch tool. Circle something. Drag over to an area that doesn't have. Boom. Now, I'm going to be using both of these interchangeably a lot to clean things up. Sometimes all you need is the spot healing brush tool, and I'm going to be using that the most. But then there are going to be parts of the image that just need to have the patch tool done to it over and over again to just hide whatever you want to hide. Now, this is going to be a bit of a slow process. I'm going to go a bit OCD. You don't have to, because again, this is going to be, let's see, from far away. You don't really notice all this, but it looks cleaner when you do clean things up. So I'm going to fast forward now and clean up this image. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done here. We cleaned up a lot of the face, we cleaned up a lot of the stray hairs, and now things are just cleaner overall. So hit screen, zoom out, that looks pretty darn great. Now file, save. Bottom left of the screen where my face is, there is a progress bar showing saving 99%. And when that goes away, we close out Photoshop, and move on to Lightroom. All right, so here we go. Close that out. And we are just about done. So now we're going to get this ready for Instagram. We're going to set the aspect ratio to 4.5. And again, do this how you want. I'm going to go here to make her the very most star of this. And that is a big change from the original. Let's go to this shot. Reset everything. 4.5. Shrink it down to here-ish. So this is the original shot. This is after everything we did. Original. All our changes. And yeah, I'm pretty darn proud of that picture. So, file, export. Okay, so custom text, like doing. Limit file size to 1600K. Resize to fit. Long edge. 2048 pixels. Resolution 300. Sharpen for screen. Standard amount. Watermark. Now, personally, I hate having to use watermarks. I really do. But no one really respects photographers on Instagram. So I unfortunately have to put watermarks in my images. Export, and there we are, done. So thank you so much for following along. I really hope you enjoyed the start to finish process here. If you followed along and you made your own work, be it you followed closely and did exactly what I did, or you went off and did your own thing, please share it on social media and tag Nardio Edits. Also, be sure to tag Milk Tea Cosplay or Milk Tea. And yeah, thank you so much. If you like what we do, don't thank me, thank my patrons. If you like what we're doing here, please support me on Patreon. I can really, really use the help. With Patreon, I'm able to do a lot more than I normally would otherwise. So thanks so much. Have a great night. Love you.